welcome back to the Minish playthrough. We're still in the Fire Temple, and now it's time for a boss. It's a fire-breathing dragon with a giant shell on its back. So for this boss, you need to use the cane of flipping things over and hit its shell on the back. And when you do that, it will flip over, it'll hurt him, then his neck will extend to the land, and then you can walk on it and hurt his obvious weak point. And he's pretty easy, especially if you know how to do if you know how to rapidly swing the sword. Like if you're very good at tapping the same button really fast, then this boss will go very quickly. After you hit it once, or not once, but after you hit it for a while, it'll go back under, and then the whole lava arena, it will grow, and then you have to go in the corners to avoid it. Also watch out for the falling rocks that come from the ceiling, because those can hurt you. Just watch out for the shadows, and you should be fine. They don't hurt you that much. When he comes back up, he will put fire throughout the room. If you need to get rid of that, just use the sword to get rid of it. It's no big deal. It really shouldn't get in your way anyway, or it might, but for the most part, it won't really get in your way, so don't really worry about it. And as you hurt him more and more, he gets faster and faster, so keep that in mind. Eventually, you're gonna have to like go around in circles, and he'll be chasing he'll be keeping up with you. But he's not too bad. If you do need some extra health, there are some fairies in the room right before this, so grab a fairy in your empty bottle and you should be good. I mean, he's not too hard. He may give you some trouble the first time you play him, but after that, he's no big deal whatsoever. And then the room dries up and the fire element comes down. So now that we have the fire element, we can go back to the mines, and our sword should be repaired at this point. And then we'll be able to start restoring the Pickery Blade back to its former glory. And yeah, make sure you grab the heart piece on the way out, or heart container, unless you're doing a 3-heart run, which can be pretty difficult for this game. I have done it before. It's pretty difficult. Some of the later bosses really hurt you, and especially the final boss, it can be pretty tough when you only have 3 hearts. I mean, assuming you're not using any fairies or potions or whatnot, it can be really difficult. And maybe I'll do a 3-heart run for this game at some point, but not until the distant future, because I don't want to do the same game like twice in a row and stuff like that. So anyways, head back to the mines and your sword will be repaired. It's just like the Pickery Blade, except it doesn't have all of its magical power, so it's just a standard blade. And it's called the White Sword, and it's very similar to the White Sword found in the original Legend of Zelda. In general, just like most sword upgrades, enemies now take 1 less hit to defeat, and enemies that gave you trouble on the mountains, such as the Tektites, they're no problem for you anymore. And he tells you that you need to go seek the Elemental Sanctuary so you can put the elements into your blade, and that's where we get all our new swords from now on. Every time we get a new element, we head back to the Sanctuary, and we will put another element in and get a new sword, and it's really cool. However, I kind of wish they took a different approach with this system. I kind of wish you got a new sword for every element you got. Like, for the Fire Temple, after you beat it, you got the Fire Sword, and then when you're done with the Water Temple, you get the Water Sword, or the Ice Sword, and then you can be able to switch between the swords, and then you sort of have this elemental gimmick going on where certain enemies, they're weak to fire or whatnot, and I think that would have been really cool. However, it probably would have been really annoying, because you would have had to keep switching between the blades. But I do think this concept could work really well on, say, like the 3DS. Seeing how you have like a touch screen, and then there you could just switch between them easily by just tapping on the screen. And I feel like that could be a really cool game. I mean, I doubt they'll ever do it, because with most Legend of Zelda games, they tend to stick to the same formula, and whatever gimmick is in the game really doesn't change the general gameplay that much. But you know, it's an interesting idea. Maybe they'll do it in the future, but I highly doubt it. In fact, the only time I think we've seen any type of elemental sword is in, what's it called? What's it called? That one on the DS, the first one. I can't think of it right now. Phantom Hourglass. There we go. Sorry for that pause, but in Phantom Hourglass there was a fire sword if you collected a bunch of red jewels, I think it was. I forgot what they're called, but then you got a fire sword in that game. It was really cool. It made your sword really powerful, and I liked it. Anyways, head back to Hyrule Castle and head into this courtyard area, and you will see a new door, and that is the door to the Elemental Sanctuary. It's pretty obvious, and I think anybody could just wander in here once it's open, I think. I'm not sure. Maybe a guard in the castle came up and saw it and was like, what's that? Maybe I'll go inside, and then discovered it, or whatever. So anyways, head in here. In the middle of the room you will see a pedestal where you can place your sword, and that is where you will infuse the element into your blade. And if you saw, there are 4 columns, 1 for each element. So there are 4 elements in the game. And every time you get a new one, head back here and you will infuse your blade with another element. But now we have to say goodbye to the white sword. Yes, we had it for a whole 4 minutes. And now we get the white sword with 2 elements infused into it. It now has a red blade instead of a green blade. And what's really cool about these sword upgrades is that when you do the spin attack, they glow the color of the blade. So with the white sword, it was green, and now it's going to be red. And I think that's really cool. I like that nice graphical touch. And now that we have infused our blade with more elements, we are introduced to the next gimmick of Minish Cap. You can split yourself in half, or not really in half. You can make multiple copies of yourself. That's what I was looking for. And if you see these glowing panels, you can charge up your sword and then split into 2 links, and that will be really helpful for some puzzles and pushing certain objects. Like if you have 2 links, you can push objects that you couldn't normally push with 1 link, and it adds a lot of interesting puzzles to the game. Many of them we will be seeing in future dungeons, and I really like this whole gimmick. It works really well, at least in my opinion. I don't know if they used this mechanic in 4 Swords and 4 Swords Adventures. Like you would have to get 4 people to push certain objects. I don't know if they used it in 4 Swords and 4 Swords Adventures because I didn't play either of them. Because 4 Swords Adventures I just never owned, and 4 Swords you need 4 people to play, and I don't have 4 people to play with. And I also think you need 4 cartridges, so yeah. Now it's time for a cutscene. We come outside the castle and there's Vaati. So now it's time for an epic duel with Vaati. And he mocks Ezlo for being a hat. I mean, at this point Vaati has so much powerful. He's so much more powerful than you. He has nothing to worry about right now. He's not even concerned with you restoring the Pickery Blade because he's just that powerful. So basically, Vaati gets all of his power from the hat he wears. It is a hat that grants infinite power. Or not infinite power, it grants whatever the person who wears it desires. It's like a wish hat. So Vaati wished he was a super powerful sorcerer, and now he's near invincible. However, the hat doesn't grant him infinite power. He's looking for the light force, which would grant him infinite power. And that's the key plot point later on in the game. And now we have a nice little mini-boss. It's some moblins, and they're pretty easy to defeat. Just hit them with your sword. They may charge at you with their spears, but they're really not that much of an issue. Just roll out of the way and then hit them a bunch of times. It's not too bad. You shouldn't take much damage there. So now we get a nice little cutscene where Ezlo explains that Vaati was her apprentice and that they were both originally Minish, and we get some backstory to this game, which is really weird. We rarely get any backstory about the characters in Legend of Zelda games. In most games, the backstory is something like how Hyrule was created or something like that. It's never really about the characters. I mean, in general, there are a few exceptions, but that's just the general rule. So now we get a flashback right here where Vaati sneaks into Ezlo's workshop and steals the hat, which grants all of his wishes. And why would you make a hat that grants all of a person's wishes? Why would you do that? That's stupid. I mean, just imagine if the wrong person got a hold of that hat, and that's what happened here, and it's just bad things will happen. And here Vaati says that he's gonna go after the Light Force, which will grant him infinite power, and he will be undefeatable. And, he casts a nice curse on Ezlo, turning her into a hat. I guess it looks like a hat. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's like a cloth. I don't know. It's just a hat for convenience sake. And he says that the curse can never be broken, so Ezlo is permanently stuck in that hat form. Which is unfortunate, because we're going to have to deal with her for the rest of the game, and I don't like Ezlo, as I have already described. Can't you just, like, throw her into a river or something? Just get rid of her. She never really helps you. I mean, I don't really need her to beat the game. Well, technically you do, because I believe she is the only one that can put you in your Minish form, so I guess you need her technically, but I really don't want her. I really don't. So anyways, in the next part, we are going to head after the third element and continue on our adventure. Until next time, this is UAA signing out. I'll see you guys later.